Town Board meeting to order for August 5th, 2024. First item on the agenda is the agenda. Patrick, any changes?
Just to note, on your consent agenda, there was a change to the rescheduling the town board meeting. It was actually to be rescheduled to the 4th, not the 5th. We did make that change on the agenda. Thank you for the eagle eye of Supervisor Redessel today.
So does that mean we don't have to pull it off?
We don't.
Okay. That's it?
Yep.
Board of anything?
No.
All right, hearing none, I need a motion.
Move to approve the agenda as submitted with the one change of changing of the date from 4th to the 5th of September.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item 3 is approval of payment of bills. Steve, you sign off?
I signed off. Move to approve payment of the bills.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item 4 is approval of minutes from July 15th.
Mr.
Do you
Chair,
have any changes?
once again, Supervisor Redessel, would you like to bring up your correction to the minutes?
Under the open time section there, Scott McCune appeared, and I do not believe that's his correct Anderley Lane address, so I just wanted to note that.
We will change that in the minutes.
Thank you.
Did he give it to us, or he just forgot where he lives already?
Forgot where he lived. He's already 1 foot out the door.
Pretty close to the Iowa address, so,
Is the Iowa address right?
well, that I didn't
Check that one?
check that one. Right, yes. But with that change, I will make a motion to approve the minutes of July 15th.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have 7 consent agenda items. Everybody okay with them?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, moving on, item 6A, this is old business. This is the old town hall cell tower lease agreement. Patrick, you gonna go over that, or?
Yeah, it's just extending the lease as it is. I would defer to legal for any comments on that one.
I did review the amendment, and talking to Crown Castle's attorney, we made a few minor changes, and I would recommend you accept it.
Patrick, did you look over this height? Are they getting taller with this? It's hard to
The actual
decipher
towers?
the, yeah.
No.
So it's just adding on equipment?
Yep.
It was hard to tell.
I know, the red and blue, they don't give a scale on it.
See this reference is going out to the year 2056 with all the possible extensions of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'll be around.
Very few of us will at that point, Tom.
Okay, well, that's a long-term lease,
Yes.
but it's 5-year increment updates.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm okay with that.
Steve, you got any comments?
I do not, and I'd make a motion based on the staff review and recommendations, approve the Crown Castle consent letter, and a memorandum, and third amendment to the communication site lease agreement.
I will second.
Motion's made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Moving on, 6B is the surplus property bid discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, pleases the board, continuation of our bid process for our surplus property on Stacker Boulevard. We did put this one out to bid. We did not receive any official bids on it during the period that it was posted. However, in the interim, we have had a couple of interested parties, and we did have one official bid, and they are here with us this evening. Consulting with legal, rather than, and for the convenience of the folks that might want to be bidding on the property, going down the road, Chad has recommended doing an appraisal on the property so that we have that available to potential buyers of the property.
And that is in the works.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. I don't remember having an appraisal done on the value of the property, so I was going to say we should do that before we entertain any offers.
Well, we did get an offer. It is up to it's the board's pleasure as to whether or not you'd like to hear what the offer is. Kyle Mason's been very patiently going through, asking a lot of questions of myself.
I thought we had the bid here.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Back it here, or
Yeah, I thought it, was
The
in
letter
here.
from Kyle is here in our packet.
Yes.
Appreciate you
Yeah.
bringing in a bid. And reviewing the offer. I would recommend we hold off until we get an appraisal. I think the value of the property is much higher than that, and I consider it a buildable lot. I don't know if the board has talked about that or what you think, so. Yeah,
Chad, do we have any legal requirement to sell it for what are the prices at? Or it's up to the discretion of the board?
It is up to the discretion of the board, but if you sell it for much less than what it's appraised at, that's a problem.
Yeah. I also would just have the board consider process here. I mean, if Kyle wants to come back in and resubmit a bid, if your motion passes tonight, Tom, how do we avoid the back and forth? I mean, if we get an appraisal in, we have a resident that wants to put in a bid, puts in a bid, the board rejects, do they have to come back for the next meeting and resubmit a bid? You see the cumbersome nature of this.
Yeah, what I'd suggest we could do is once we get the appraisal, and if Kyle wants to resubmit a bid based on that after he reviews the appraisal, and the board decides it wants to counter, then you'd simply provide staff with directions as to exactly what the price is. Now, understand that would be done in a closed session because we're selling real property. In fact, theoretically, this should be done in a closed session with this, but because you weren't planning on selling it tonight, an open session is fine. In fact, an open session for this, based on where you stand on the property, is probably a good idea, so everyone understands the process the board intends to follow.
Well, we don't
Dealing with
really
this
have
property.
a formal action required tonight anyway, so. This is
Other
just
than
a-
requesting an appraisal.
Right.
Yeah.
You want me to make a
Well-
motion to request an appraisal, or is that already in the
And then
way?
you just want to table this discussion for a
Well,
future?
Tom's already put a motion out for, right? Put a motion
I
out.
didn't form it
Okay,
part of a motion, but I could do that.
okay. You might want to ask Kyle for any comment on
Any
it.
feedback would be appreciated.
Yeah, if Jeff come up to the podium, Kyle, just state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Kyle Mason. So I'm at 3916 Lakewood Avenue. So kind of right up the street from this property that's for sale. And my fiance and I we really like the neighborhood and we want something good to be done with the property. So we're interested in that and potentially to build on, or at least have that, if we don't build on it at some point, if that's not in the works for us, for somebody else to build on it and improve on the property and the neighborhood as well. So that's kind of our plans with it. And yeah.
Okay, well, you understand where we're coming from then, so we're probably just going to table this discussion until we get formal appraisal back. So we kind of know in a range of what it is worth, so we're not obviously having a fire sale here either, so,
Yep, that's very fair.
okay.
We don't need to sell the property. It's just surplus property, so we're more, from my perspective, more or less interested in what's the property worth and what could it sell for, so. But don't want to dump it.
Yeah, and I completely understand that. My bid was a kind of a starting point with I have a few concerns with the former well that's on the property, not having a real location of where that is. So yeah, open to more discussion on it for sure.
Larry, I think you were at the meeting we discussed that vacant well, weren't you? Or was that Jim? It's on
Stacker.
Stacker.
Yeah.
Stacker. Yep.
Because I thought it was abandoned and it probably shouldn't affect the building site, at least from what I remember from discussion with the engineers.
Well, that's all part of the information we'll have to gather and put together. In fact, the appraiser will need that information to properly appraise the property, appraise the value. But just so you're clear, Kyle, that once you do make a formal offer, that will only be discussed in a closed session,
It's one of the 3 or 4 things that you can talk
but
about
in a closed
in
session.
a closed session that are left anymore. So, and I would share the appraisal with Kyle before he would put in another bid. But just a reminder, until Chad finds out some legal direction on whether or not we can accept any bid, or if it does tie to the appraisal above or below what that is, we should know that before we have Kyle waste his time.
Sure.
Yep.
Chad, will this also have to be presented with like a formal purchase agreement? I don't think we can accept just an email with a,
Well,
I think you can have a tentative offer and then formalize it.
theoretically, you could. It's not the way to, it's not a wise way to sell property because of all the other issues involved in sale of property.
right?
But no, I've seen it done. I don't approve of it, but I've seen it done,
Don't forget my commission.
that too.
Zero?
We're gonna get you a pink flower for that penny.
It's not pink enough for you?
All right, thanks, Kyle.
Yep. I will send it on to you.
Timing on the appraisal, Chad, couple weeks,
Oh, more like about 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah.
4 weeks. So if we're looking for a motion, I would move to continue discussion on this until the second meeting in September to allow
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
completion of the appraisal and review by the board.
I'll second that.
All right, motion's made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thanks, guys. All right, moving on.
Congratulations.
6C, the Ramsey County Special Permit Archery Hunt.
No
We didn't
comment.
get a rep, did we?
No comment from staff.
This is just Poplar Lake. Looks like they're proposing to hunt this year, which they've done through Minnesota Bowhunters Resource Base for many years in the past, and I think it's been pretty successful, so.
Well, but it's also very frustrating when we know there's a lot more deer right in Tamarack, and they're avoiding that one.
Well, we know the winter conditions for the aerial flyover were terrible because we didn't have any snow, so it would have been a guesstimate. They do move around, but I had thought they had said earlier this year there wasn't any interest on the county's behalf of hunting anything except the Poplar Lake.
Yeah. The residents were quite unhappy with that information being portrayed to them, particularly the ones in, between Anderley and West Bald Eagle and to the open space to the north, and those neighbors, because they see their vegetation getting destroyed. So, but having said that,
Chad, we just, in consent, we allow a couple of hunters to go into the Benson Airport area. So because that's open space, we don't have any jurisdiction over it. Tamarack or the Benson Point.
Well, it's under control of the county. No, we have no control over whatsoever.
But so, if we wanted to open it up for other parts of the township, and as long as they meet the requirements, we could, because we've been doing this for Benson Airport for 10 years.
Yes.
Now, there used to be a gentleman coming in for a state tool. I haven't seen him. I don't know if he came out last year or not.
he did not.
Yeah, you mean, the town board does have jurisdiction for hunting over the entire township, so you could, other than, except for property owned by the county, you could open hunting up for other properties. It's just that question whether you really want to do that.
Well, can you roll this into like a nuisance ordinance? Because some of these things are a nuisance.
Well, except for one thing, nuisance is for human activity.
We don't have an animal nuisance?
Well,
Not that they pay attention to.
yeah, who do you serve? No, I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying, but you'd have to enact a new ordinance, I would suspect, to deal with that.
We have a policy that talks about some of these larger properties and hunting on those by special permission. I haven't looked at that for years because most of those were related to the North Oaks Company properties. And they haven't had any hunters on there for years either. So maybe it would be something we could take a look at the next executive meeting as far as the current policy and updating it.
Specific, which policy was it, Tom? Do you remember?
27E. I have no idea, Pat, sorry. I have to go through the book. But thanks for the quiz.
Good answer.
He wrote it down.
Is it under the nuisance or our hunting?
It's under deer hunting, I think, or
Okay.
something. I haven't looked at it for years, so I don't recall, but
Okay.
Well, it would be nice because if we don't get any snow again this year, they're not going to hunt again. And we know we've got plenty of deer.
Yeah.
yeah, they
You
do
do.
move
I
around.
mean, I think on the way home, I'm going to count 6.
Yeah.
Well, if it's not raining.
They do move around. I'm not seeing many in my neighborhood this year. And historically,
Really?
it's been just,
Scott counted 28 in his yard this winter.
yeah. Well, yeah, this winter, there was plenty around.
This is the first year that I've had deer chewing everything in sight in my cul-de-sac. So
Well, I've got,
they've moved.
last year, the last 2 years, I had 2 bucks competing and rubbing and scraping, and they ruined pretty much all the natural trees I had in my wooded area. So
All right, well, that's
I
some-
understand the issue, and
That's something we'll discuss on an exec board meeting. All right, so then I need a motion for this hunt.
I would move to approve the Ramsey County Special Permit Archery Hunt for the Poplar Lake County Park area of the township.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, moving on, we have a Public Safety Commission item, Portland Avenue.
Tom, do you want this for your cred, or do you want me to do it?
Is my cred good enough?
Yeah. That's up for debate.
This is, yeah, a petition received from a resident on North Portland. And it's not a petition, it's just a letter. He was working on a petition. He was at the Public Safety Commission with a couple of his neighbors last week. Issues relative to, or concerns relative to speed on Portland, and maybe consideration for a stop sign or two to be added. Again, to help reduce the speed. Portland Avenue, Ramsey County Road, it's a county state aid highway. Not the first petition, and again, it's not a petition, but that we've seen. I recall when I lived over on the corner of Portland and Buffalo back in the early 90s, there was a similar petition. And the town action at that time was to have Ramsey County Engineer, Public Safety take a look at it and see if they would consider making those modifications. I don't know if they did. Of course, that was back in the time too when Taylor Avenue was acting as a collector instead of Buffalo, and the board at that time made some modifications to the intersection and moved the traffic to where it should be. Anyway, I would like to have Ramsey County review this corridor again and comment on speed. Take a look at some potential stop sign locations, and maybe provide comments and why they don't install stop signs there.
It
Or
seems
other
to me,
locations.
I thought the last time we were going to, it was maybe a township road, but we had to have a actual traffic study, and they were like $200,000.
We're at, or the Safety Commission is requesting that the Township Board request of the County Board
Do that.
to do this.
It-
Right? Yep.
County board that has to act on that, or just
Yeah.
county staff?
Oh, they'll have to act on it, I'm sure, at board level. But they'll
Whatever it
direct
takes.
staff.
It's
they'll
time to
direct
look
staff
at
to
it
do
again.
Yep.
There's more homes, driveways on Portland now, more traffic, more development.
It's
So
probably been brought up at least 3 times in the last 10 years formally, and it's gotten declined each time. Now, yes, there is more traffic, and it is a fast racetrack, but they used to hide under the, at least in my opinion, hiding under that they couldn't adjust the speed because it was a state mandated deal
For which road?
for Portland.
Oh,
But that's not true.
not true.
No. So I don't have any reason not to suggest that they do it. I just don't hold out a lot of hope. Particularly with, that would be Victoria Reinhardt's area, I believe, and she's retiring, so it'd be starting all new. So maybe it's a good time to do
Well,
it.
you're also starting all new Ramsey County officials. It seems like
Well,
every time
that's
we
true.
talk to somebody, it's somebody new.
That's going to change.
So
Nothing but turnover.
Maybe
there.
there will be some movement.
Well,
I guess I'd be interested in maybe having them do something with the speed limit, but I'd want to see that for a couple of years before you start putting
Stop
stop
signs.
signs every quarter mile also. Because that's just going to entice people to speed more to the next one, so. And the Ramsey County Sheriff will tell you the same thing.
Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Safety Commission wanted to start small with just the speed limit being lowered and then evaluate it thereafter on a variety of platforms.
yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
See, I pay attention.
good for you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm curious how they pick these speed limits. I mean, I'm on a county road with a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit that's straight and has more traffic than this one, but this one's at 40 miles an hour and kind of curvy in areas, so.
Because it was that way for a long time and it was rural, and they just don't change real quick.
I don't know, Larry, do you have any comments on?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Town Board. When they set speed limits, they use the 85th percentile speed to set those limits. So if the 85th percentile speed is 45, that's what they're going to set the speed limit at. So you can request the county to review that again and see if the speeds have come down. But in some cases, they evaluate those speeds and the speeds are higher than this posted speed limit, and then they have to post it higher. So it's something that we can talk with the traffic engineer at Ramsey County and see if it makes some sense to do an official study to change that speed limit.
Also specific to the request is the sharing of data and analysis of how they arrived at their conclusion. The Safety Commission was very specific about that.
Okay.
Well, it seems an odd way to do it, because then you're just basically glorifying the speeders to get the speed limit up.
And demographics changes have no bearing?
That's why they use the 85th percentile speed, because that's the speed that most people are driving. That corridor.
Yeah, they are, over the posted speed limit.
So, process. I mean, how do we request this officially to happen? Is it coming from staff and engineers, or are we directing this to the board, to county board chair, or what would you suggest?
I would suggest a conversation with the traffic engineer for Ramsey County.
I like
And start there.
I like the less formal approach to start things off, for sure.
All right, so you just want a formal motion to have staff pursue the
Please.
traffic study?
Yep.
With the county traffic engineer, I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, moving on. We have, item 7 is a public hearing. This is for Cameron Johnson, a lot split. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll move to waive the reading that was properly published.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then I need a motion to open up.
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Larry, are you going to do this one?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Town Board. I wanted to get here early to set up the TVs, but I'm having some problems now, so we'll have to talk verbally, and if you can follow along in your packet. Okay.
Yes.
Steve, were you at this meeting? Or
No.
You were, Tom.
I filled in for Steve that night.
Okay.
Give it a second here.
Well, maybe, Tom, you could fill me in on
Yeah,
reviewing the planning commission meeting minutes. I didn't really see the applicant's reason for the line movement.
okay, well, it's basically under one ownership now, or one family ownership, and they're looking at separating it into two properties, as I recall. The applicant's here, you can probably fill in some details.
At least don't have two separate PIN numbers? Or property identification numbers?
I would think they do. I could be wrong. They're two separate addresses, two separate homes. But I know historically they've been under the same family ownership.
They would have to be two separate PIN numbers, otherwise it wouldn't be a need for a minor subdivision.
Okay.
Boy, this technology really speeds things up. When it works.
Mr. Chair, if you look at the TKDA memorandum first page, it indicates the two PID numbers.
Thank you, Chad. Page 63 of our packet shows the subdivision as proposed. It's basically a lot line rearrangement.
Yeah, I can walk through this.
Thanks,
We'll
Larry.
just go off off your packet here. So there's a lot, or two lots in common ownership. The same property owner owns two lots, one at 1574 Hammond Road and the other at 5000 Otter Lake Road. And the parcels adjoin in the rear of the lot. And so the property owner who owns both properties would like to adjust that lot line, taking some space from one lot and adding it to the other. It would increase the one parcel to 43,400 square feet, and it would decrease the other parcel to 60,500 square feet in size. The subdivision ordinance covers this topic, and it's under it's under the minor subdivision ordinance, even though it's just a lot line adjustment. Staff has reviewed the application and is recommending approval. We are requested additional easement along the lot line of Hammond Road for the roadway, 33-foot wide right-of-way easement, and then 10-foot wide drainage and utility easements along the side and rear lot lines. These properties were originally platted in the 1930s, so they didn't have those standard, that are now standard 10-foot drainage utility easements. So we're recommending that those are included with this. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their June 27th meeting and is recommending approval for this minor lot line adjustment. So tonight, for the board, we're recommending approval. Your options tonight are to approve the requested minor subdivision, deny the minor subdivision, or table this request. And so we're recommending approval of this with the new survey that they provided, which dedicated additional easements along Hammond Road, and then the lot lines.
All right, Steve, any questions, comments?
No, it seemed pretty straightforward. Common ownership, it's just minor subdivision of the lot. I didn't see much to.
Tom, you got anything to add from Planning Commission?
No interested in public comment.
All right, hearing no more questions from the board, I need a motion to open up for the comment for the public.
I'll move to the public comment portion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Said the applicant's here. You want to come up, state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Cameron Johnson. I live at 1574 Hammond Road. My family has owned these properties since about 37, so that kind of comes into play with what you're stating about easements. I've had surveys done, had the easements done, going through a difficult divorce, going about 2 years now. Part of that divorce is selling the 5000 Otter Lake Road. And that's where I'd like to be able to take some of that property from 5,000, add it to 1574, which I'm living at, and just have that as a buffer. So then hopefully somebody that purchases the house doesn't come in and put in 15 townhomes. So just trying to keep as much of the family land around as possible for myself. So
Well, that kind of answers my question. I didn't have to know the specifics, but.
well, I can give you more information if you want.
Well, no, just sometimes when these come up, all of a sudden it's because you want to throw a large building in the back, or that's why I was just wondering.
This is just a buffer, just to kind of keep the woods, because it's kind of landlocked without a shared easement for road or driveway in from 5,000 or 1574, my property, along with utilities coming in along that same easement line. It's all woods, landlocked.
How many deer do you have back there?
I have quite a few. I got a couple of bucks back there that are going back and forth, and a bunch of does that are bedding down, and the leaves in the back. So,
All right, Steve, you have any questions?
No.
Tom?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. Well, this seems pretty straightforward. Is there anybody else to comment on this? Going once, going twice? All right, I need a motion to close the public portion.
I'll move to close the public portion of the hearing.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, any other questions or concerns?
None here. I would, based on planning commission review and recommendation and subject to the recommendations of the town engineer and planner, I would recommend approval of the minor subdivision as proposed.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? You're good to go. All right, moving on. Item 8A, new business. This is State Fair Park and Ride, no parking request. Patrick, you gonna cover that?
Yes. So last year, and the same as this year, we have a request by our townhome associations over where there is state fair bus transportation. And in the past, there's been liberties taken with parking in those neighborhoods, and they requested the last couple years now to restrict parking through there. The board's specifics in order to approve this request was that A, the townhome associations take ownership of maintaining the signs that are out there. If they get knocked out, they have volunteered to put them back up for us. We will put them out initially, Public Works will. The board also asked that if there are issues with other residents or visitors that have problems with the way that the no parking has been outlined through those neighborhoods, that the townhomes be the contact. We did that last year. And then finally, we requested something in writing that they are the ones that are responsible for this, and we have received, or we have gotten all three of those available to us at this point. So it's really just a matter of whether or not you want to do it or not.
Steve?
Well, as in the past, there's a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses to this, but overall, I think those neighborhoods do get impacted by state fair parking, and so as long as we're not obligated to take every complaining phone call, I don't see any reason not to.
I don't think we received more than 2 or 3 complaints last year, and all 3 of them we sent either to Jim or other Jim.
Yeah.
So,
All right, and then Public Works, just all we do is put up the signs and take it back down?
Yep.
Tom, got anything?
No, that's what I wanted to hear, is we're initially putting up
we
the
are,
signs.
yes, and we're taking them down when we're done.
And we're placing them where they want them?
Yes.
So there's no confusion?
But it's subject to our adjustment as we see necessary.
Correct. Yep.
And I'm comfortable with it.
And this has not expanded. This is the same they had last year.
Same as last year.
So,
No, I have no further questions.
All right, you want a formal motion on this, Patrick?
Yeah, please.
I move to approve the request as proposed.
Steve, is
I'll
that-
second that.
All right, motion made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, moving on,
Thanks,
8B. County Clerk Administrative Assistant position.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Board, we are going to be making or we have made an offer to an employee to fill our accounting clerk position. She comes to us from Whitaker Buick, where she's had experience in AP and AR, which are exactly what we were looking for. We received almost 40 applicants, which I was surprised about, and we ended up interviewing 7 of them. Pending the board's approval, she has accepted the position.
Steve, questions, comments?
Just to be clear, this is our entry-level administrative financial position.
Yep, mostly we'll handle utility billing. There'll be some front desk requirements, and she will also be helping Haley, who is our new finance manager, in her job as well.
And all these duties have clearly been explained because we've had trouble keeping this position filled
For about 10 years now.
now.
I think we're on, this will be number 9.
Okay.
It's one that I can't figure it out yet. It's a revolving door. The one who...
Maybe it's you.
No, because it was happening before I got here. The one who has survived the position is our finance manager now. So,
Well, kind of another reason why the town goes out of its way to make sure we pay our employees going rates, because so they're not out shopping and
Yes.
we lose them.
And we are doing some market work in this whole finance area, are we not, to make
We are.
sure that if we're not missing something as to why we've had the turnover?
Mr. Ruzick and I have initiated that conversation with MRA, where we are working on improving our organizational chart, as well as charting out some new responsibilities for our staff.
Well, you're pretty comfortable because we're going through this big software update and overhaul, and I think that's why we lost the last applicant, or the last position. So, I mean, you feel comfortable she's gonna be able to fit into that?
We're going to find out.
That would be over me.
You know, that's part of the reason we're looking at our outside HR consultant, is to help drill into the issues that we are seeing, and hopefully they'll give us some answers, because turnover is expensive, no matter
It
which
is.
way you look at it. So,
And remember, this employee is in a 6-month probationary period to begin with.
All right, any other questions? All right, looking for a motion to approve the hiring?
I'll make a motion based on the interview process and staff consensus, approve the hiring of Christine Frenning to fill the position beginning August 7th, 2024, of accounting clerk/administrative assistant.
I will second.
All right, motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
All
folks.
opposed? All right, item C, we have Hugo Road safety concerns.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Safety Commission was busy last Thursday. Tom, you want to back into this one?
Well, this was the discussion on Hugo Road North, as I recall. 30-mile-an-hour speed limit request, where I believe it's 40.
It's 40.
So discussion with the Public Safety Commission, same as the previous one.
Yeah, so-
Let's ask the county engineer to take a look at this one, and
Do you want to add that to your to-do list when we approach him? Sure. Yeah, I think that's the best way to start. I think maybe we were overcomplicating this on Thursday, Tom.
I'd like to make a comment, though. Depending on when this happens, I still think there is a problem with the new school going from County Road F all the way down Hugo Road, and it may change when the school gets in session. If they were miraculous and got it early, they're going to get a different result, because the major traffic for the new school is coming from the north.
Correct.
And they're going to come down Highway 61 until they find out that there's a lot of traffic. They're going to cut over on Hugo Road and come down like a racetrack.
So incidentally, we
my
also discussed school traffic patterns last Thursday.
Ah.
We tabled analysis of that for after the first couple months of school traffic to settle in as to what everybody's driving, at which time the commission has requested analysis on that as well.
But the timing to do this analysis, though, is critical, because it may give you a different outcome. So I'm
Right.
just saying, whatever we go to the county, and if they agree to do it, it should be done after school starts.
Agreed.
Okay, but the speed limit is 30 up until the boat launch, right?
Yes.
And then it's 40 to County Road J.
Yes.
That one I don't know for sure.
Yeah, well, that's where you want to pull it back to 30, correct?
that's what I recall, yeah.
Yes.
So that's the section north of,
Well, what I'm
Directions are off right.
What I'm wondering is, there are no houses after that. Why are they concerned about 40 from J to that?
Because
Because they're ripping up speed as they're coming up through the clear area, and by the time they get down to where it tightens up and there's more homes, they're in full blast at that point.
So it doesn't have anything to do with Overlake Drive coming in right there?
I had a little bit about that as well, because the neighbor had concerns from that corner as well.
I just see this being an increase of an issue, not a decrease of an issue with the new school.
I agree with you, and so does the commission.
yeah, we'll be real interested to see what the traffic patterns are now compared to what they were before, and what recommendations.
Because the traffic studies, as we've talked about many times, for the new school were done during COVID by cell phone pings. It's the only time they've ever communicated to me, which I question the validity of the data. And so, me question the validity of the data. Oh, so,
Well, you and the county get along so well, Steve.
I know.
Maybe we should have Steve contact the town engineer.
No, that would not be a good idea.
Well, we know it's changed. It's
Yeah.
changing,
So-
and it's because of the high school.
It is.
The whole dynamic's going to change.
Well, so then when do you actually go out and analyze it?
Maybe in
You don't wanna do
October.
it- You don't want to do it now.
No, probably in October after, like we said, when the patterns start to settle in around the school.
Yeah.
You can communicate that, right, Larry? Okay. Makes sense to your engineering mind?
Yeah, it makes sense for us to review.
Okay.
All right, so you want that same motion?
Yes, please.
I'll second that.
Well, I can't.
Oh, you can, I thought he made it. No,
Moved.
Are you the second, Steve?
I'm the second.
Right.
He made it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, that motion carried. Moving on, we have, back in that neck of the woods, Over Lake Avenue and Lake Avenue curve.
Yeah, no parking signs. This is a very tight road through there that our neighbor, or this neighbor or resident appeared at the Safety Commission and made this request in addition to the Hugo Road analysis. She is asking for no parking signs along the curve on Overlake Avenue and Lake Avenue, subsequent to additional neighborhood input. Now, it sounded like the commission was in favor of this, placing the no parking signs, but they have requested that we get impact statement from additional neighbors first.
Seems, I can remember this 5 years ago, they were having problems with school buses making that turn with cars parked there. But nothing was ever done then.
Why would they want to turn in there? It's a dead end. I can see it. Yeah, tight roads there, and
Or any kind of truck traffic,
yeah,
especially nowadays with so many delivery trucks.
I can see being a parking issue raised by the neighbor. My recommendation with discussion with public safety was just, I'd like to see input from the home that's impacted there in addition to other homes nearby. And if we could look at the file and see some of the history on this too, I think this has come up before we take any action.
Well, and plus, all this parking's got to be done by the people who live there.
Exactly.
So they're creating their own problem there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want
So-
us to alleviate neighborhood problem.
Yeah.
So good input is the best answer.
Yeah, I'd like to see some
So
more.
maybe we table this until we get input from the neighbors and look at the address file first.
Well, you want to just basically send out a letter to all the people affected, or how do you want to handle this?
There's only a couple that are right down there that are impacted by it, if I'm right, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we do a memo from my office and request input. That's fine.
All right. You want a formal motion on that one?
No, I would say
Staff?
yeah, this is staff directive, and I say you just table it until we get that data back or input.
So I move to continue this till second meeting in September again?
Sure.
I'll second that.
Thanks, folks.
All right, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, let me get back here. All right, that's our regular agenda. We don't have any added agenda items. Item 10 is open time. I know we have some folks here that want to talk open time. Mr. Sands, you want to come up to state your name and address for the record?
Good evening. Dick Sand, 2626 Santera Circle in the township. And I had communicated my request to Tom and to Ed. Sorry, Steve, I didn't give you a call. And I've talked with Dale Reed as well. It specifically relates to the improvement project we're having in the area. And I did attend the first public meeting regarding the improvement project. Everything seemed to be fine. In fact, the meeting was held in this building, and I didn't have any objections to anything. What I did not know was that there was a request to remove the island in Santera Circle. And this came to our attention actually when the field engineer for TKDA came out and was checking with everybody, making sure everybody was happy with what was going on and happened to tell my wife, oh, yeah, we're going to be removing the island. And so, anyway, so that's the first I heard of it. So that's when I got on the horn and talked with everybody. I don't want to address all of the islands everywhere in the project. I just want to talk about Santerra Circle. And the cul-de-sac that we live on have only 2 houses on it with an open lot. So the maximum is going to be 3 houses. It's not a full cul-de-sac for development purposes. So I'd asked that the town board do a change order and not remove the island in the cul-de-sac. The field engineer told my wife that it was at the request of the Public Works Department, so it wasn't something that came as a grassroots request. Not to out anybody about this, but I was out one day while the guys were trying to locate a shutoff valve. And while they're out there, the one maintenance worker said, this is my favorite cul-de-sac. I said, why is that? And he says, well, because of the island. I'm in and out of here in 2 minutes. You know, there's very little snow to remove. I said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to quote you on that. And so I gave Dale a call, and I've discussed it with him. But honestly, and I've seen in past years in other parts of the township where we've had heavy snowfall, the Public Works actually piles snow in the center of the cul-de-sacs. Well, there's no need to really do that here because there's an island, so they can pile snow there. And otherwise, it's kind of nice to have the trees out there. The greenery, the trees are gone, by the way. My daughter was going to chain herself to the trees so they wouldn't tear down the...
Was that your words or his?
But anyway, so we'd appreciate that the town not remove the cul-de-sac, or not remove the island in the cul-de-sac, and just keep it the way it was. I guess we'll just have to replant the trees out there.
Larry, you want to bring us up to speed? Were all the cul-de-sacs going to be taken out in that whole project?
Yeah.
I mean, not the islands, not the cul-de-sacs.
So, Mr. Chair and Town Board, we have, that's the only one I know of that has the center island for a cul-de-sac. There were several islands at the entrances, and that those were reviewed, and a resident, I think it might have been after the second neighborhood meeting, came up and said, why do we have these? They're kind of a nuisance.
This was before input from Public Works, correct?
This was before input from Public Works. And so we started to review that and start talking about that with Public Works. And so we started to talk about, well, we have 2 entrances that have these islands. Are they necessary? Should we review that? And that's what we did, reviewed it through the project, and we're proposed to remove those as well as the island that Mr. Sands is talking about.
Because I believe after talking to Dale, they use a smaller truck to do your cul-de-sac because that island is in there, not the bigger truck. I think I'm right on that. And that's, when you're talking to Public Works, whoever you were talking to, driving that smaller truck, yeah, it's easier with a small truck, but that means that small truck wouldn't have to be there now. And if they use a bigger truck, that small truck is making a special run to do that cul-de-sac?
I did speak with Mr. Reed late last week.
Friday.
I think they do bring a smaller truck in there anyway to clean up the cul-de-sacs in other areas. So
I was just wondering if that affected their decision or not on maintenance. But if we were to leave it, is that a savings for the township?
it would be a savings on the cost.
I wouldn't hold you on a dollar amount, but, and then obviously if the trees are gone, I'm afraid that might fall on your responsibility, Dick, if you
Well, I
want.
planted them, so I guess I'll have to put them back up. They weren't sequoias, so, but they were out there, arborvitae. So,
Steve,
I
questions?
was going to say, the history of that neighborhood, was that a homeowners association, or is it still a homeowners association? Never was?
single-family homes.
Single family, so never a association, so township was always maintaining the
Street, but not the
island?
not the island. The neighborhood maintains the island.
Okay, but it wasn't part of an association,
No.
so, and the neighbors were you.
And then I've got the guy across the street from me who helps me out. Let's put it that way. So,
Okay.
You know,
No,
Tom?
Nope, well summarized. I'm interested.
I know I live on a cul-de-sac, and the big truck makes a lot quicker work of a cul-de-sac than the smaller ones. And they do bring the smaller one around just to clean up the edges, but when they come
that's
through,
what happens with us. I got to say that we do have the big trucks coming through. I don't know what they are, Ford, the big dump trucks with the 5-yard boxes on them. So,
And usually sometimes the smaller trucks also do trails, if there's any in the area, so they need that.
There are.
Yeah, so they need that there for that reason. So if it's not a special trip, I don't see it as being a big deal. But how do we, if we were to not remove it, how would it, is Dick right, all we need is a change order through the contractor?
It wouldn't even be a change order. It would just be
Directive.
yeah. It would be just less curb and less bituminous that we would put.
because it's based on volume, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
Guys, just all due respect here, Dick, I am concerned about a vote being unanimous in favor of the project to remove these islands. And then based upon the feedback of one resident, we're gonna change that. I
You worried about setting
don't,
precedents?
yeah, I'm concerned about the precedents, and it's not just you personally, Dick. Going forward, to hear that as a potential, and I'm not saying that it will, but there's the potential that opens the door for.
Well, this is why we pay Chad those big bucks. though.
Yeah.
Legally, could you do it? Sure.
Sure.
But practically, Pat raises a good point, is that we have one resident here who would rather keep the cul-de-sac. And it sounds to me like the cul-de-sac really only affects 2 or 3 people.
you have it right here.
Yeah, I'm the lot split, right? But, let's face it, if changing the plans would make sense and would make sense and, deal with the affected citizens, I think, yeah, I could see doing it, but you should at least have a public hearing and make sure everyone's aware of what's going on.
Isn't that a little late at this
Well,
point?
no, it's not, because you're changing the plans now, or at least you're supposedly changing the plans right now.
The project is started.
True, well, I guess, yeah, Larry, so that's pretty well underway, huh?
It started. They started removing curb, and to notice for a public hearing would mean
So it delay the whole project.
a month.
Okay, well, that's a problem then,
Yeah.
It is a problem.
that's a problem.
A month ago, the time to address this would have been at least a month ago before this thing got finalized. Once it started,
Well, Steve, I did attend the first meeting, and I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to have to come to every damn meeting that the
Don't blame you.
has.
no, I
Sorry.
Don't blame you.
don't blame you.
So, but I don't see the precedent. If it were something where there would be a neighborhood interest, maybe there's some people out there that are speeding down Portland Avenue that would object. They want to be able to come and speed through my cul-de-sac, But I don't see where there'd be a public interest for people that don't live on the cul-de-sac.
I understand your point, but on the other hand, are we setting a precedent that every time something like, we can change plans on the fly? is that really a good idea? I'm not sure. I mean, Larry, that's more your end of it than is mine. But it just strikes me as not a really good idea to be altering plans like that.
It's a project that's gone through the process.
Right.
And now, with approval of the plans, the way they are with removal of the cul-de-sac. So, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I understand what you're saying.
You need to state your name and address for the record.
My name is Antonia Davison, 2635 Santera Circle, White Bear Township, Minnesota 55110. I wasn't sure how far I had to go with it.
Close enough.
Can't go any further.
You're fine.
You're fine.
You're fine.
We'll need to see a passport.
I understand with the not wanting to set a precedent. I would say, though, that since it is really only our addresses on the cul-de-sac, and it wouldn't influence, like if there were more residents, I feel like, located on the cul-de-sac, then that, but percentage-wise, I mean, aside from my mom, we're at like 100% of.
That's why she's not here.
Yes. Of residents that this would affect on the cul-de-sac.
Tom, you have anything to add or to?
I'm comfortable with making a change here, whatever we have to do. I'm a little uncomfortable with the process that said, if one resident said, can we just take these out? And, it wasn't really aired in public. I'm concerned that we made that decision to do that. I mean, that was the original design. We don't have a policy that says we're tearing out landscape islands because why? We don't like them. Public Works doesn't like them. We know they don't like cul-de-sacs. They're more difficult to plow than a straightaway. So, shoot, I like the island design when we did it back in the 90s. So, I'd like it to stay. Clearly, these things need to be maintained and landscaped and re-landscaped, and it sounds like we've caught it at a point where we can stop the process and not delay anything else, work around this cul-de-sac.
Do we
have
have to
time
post
to-
for a public hearing if we're going to change this?
I don't think so.
No, not really.
You're not removing something, you're just leaving something there and replacing
I guess
maybe
that-
some curb. And
that's probably the whole point of, if we were adding on your request, it would be a whole different ballgame. Because then the expense would be more, and now we are altering the design quite a bit. I think leaving it isn't as hard of a pill to swallow, even though like I said, and we have, I don't know how many public hearings or neighborhood meetings on this thing to make sure everybody's on the same page, especially when it comes to assessments. But now most of them should be happy if the thing is less. That will come off the total cost of the project, which means everybody's going to save $1. I don't know.
I don't know if anybody's going to be able to feel it.
Maybe you guys could give us a rebate.
Well, the assessment hasn't been adopted yet.
The only problem I worry about is that if you're going to maintain that cul-de-sac, someday you're not going to be there, and somebody else is going to be there. And then they decide, no, we're not going to do it. Then that's back on the township's hands. So that would be what's sticking in my craw, because it's privately maintained.
That's exactly why I asked if this was an association to start with, because the plans always are great to maintain public areas until it isn't. And then
It's
it's,
been 25
Yeah.
years we've been out there maintaining it, so
yeah.
maybe in 25 years,
it's our turn.
I live there now.
there you go.
Next generation maintaining it.
The talk about cost is important, because if this actually did increase the cost, that would really jeopardize everything we've done so far legally. So the only saving grace here is the fact that it's not increasing costs. Otherwise, I would have to strongly recommend against any change.
I think staff and legal have expressed concern. We will do as we're directed. However, I see this biting us down the road. I see this biting us down the road, changing not midstream, 80% stream down the road.
I mean, this board has always been very sensitive to the views of residents. And if you do decide to make the change, I strongly recommend you make it very clear that this is a very unique situation and do not expect this to ever happen again. Because you're right, you don't want to open the door to this kind of thing. Not that it doesn't make sense,
Makes
but you
total
just
sense.
don't want to, it creates a policy nightmare. And Mr. Sands, as being an ex-board member, I think you understand what I'm talking about.
But actually, too, this does happen on other projects. Hammond Road was a prime example when we had to battle with the county for an easement. So that changed everything. After we had it all situated, that came up. So these things do come up. I understand your position on how to try to frame this so it does not come back to bite us in the butt. I'm not sure how we do that.
Well, just if you decide to make the change, this will be a simple motion. Just make it clear as you make the motion that this is a unique situation. It's almost a finding of fact in some ways, but it's not.
All right,
Well, I think if we go that direction, I think it also has to be clear that that we're not putting trees back in there. The township isn't paying for trees. I mean, it's public property, but they are the ones that would be putting them back versus us. I mean,
Actually, these islands you're talking about are very unique
they
from a
are.
legal standpoint. They're not, tell you what, I'm not going to keep everyone here discussing the. Please. Well, if you want me to, I will. No. But yeah. Well, I'll apply for it, Dick. But no, it's these kind of things are very unique, and the issue of who's responsible for what is interesting, but it's not.
Well, the concern, Chad, is that they've already been removed. He mentioned the trees are gone.
Right.
And so now there is a cost increase. We get a reduction on one side, but then you say, okay, well, now you put the trees back. Well, I
In
don't
which
want to put
case,
the trees back.
maybe instead of just, if you decide to do this, to change the plans, it should be done as a formal motion. And as part of the motion, should be made clear that the town will not in any way reconstruct make any changes to its plans for that. Well, no, I take that back. You are making changes.
Exactly.
That town is not responsible for maintaining any of the landscaping in the island, and will not take any steps towards rehabilitating the island.
Chad, just maybe it's a point of order. Because this is open time, do we have to have a formal application from Mr. Sands?
Can't the board just direct staff?
Judge, Larry's raised a very good point. We're halfway through, you're already on, the project's already underway. If you wanted to, the only choice is to bring this back in September.
Yeah, it'd be 2 weeks.
No, I take that back. In 2 weeks, yeah. It's only the first meeting of August, but it sounds to me like 2 weeks is not a real good idea in a construction project like this.
I think a simple
Directive, yeah, would be good enough.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, well, again, then I will ask, what's the pleasure of the board?
I will try to make a motion here.
Don't do consensus.
Okay, I guess we're just going to do a simple directive instead.
Consensus for staff directive.
Yeah.
I was prepared for a motion.
Well, you could bring a motion to direct staff.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to direct staff to work with the contractor to modify this section of the plans to retain the island as is, due to unique circumstances where the property owner, subdivision designer, appeared not knowing or unaware of the completed plans which eliminated the cul-de-sac islands. And the property owner has stated that they would replant this island, and I would say subject to town input on the types of trees. I think I addressed that this is a unique situation of communication breakdown, should we call it?
Yeah,
I'm wandering along.
I don't know, you're fine.
Yeah, no, I'm getting off the point here a little bit, but
I don't know what your perspective is, but I don't know if we should include unaware because
Yeah.
the township, as Larry has noted, went through the process of publicly notifying residents through neighborhood meetings and then finalizing the plans. That implies that we have to
It could,
address and communicate with everybody individually.
and that's a very good point. It could create a higher level of communication, or a high level of of notice than towns legally obligated to follow.
That's the only part of it that I would object.
And I would also add a condition that this only be done as long as it does not increase the costs of the project.
thank you for adding that. Yes, I would add that to the motion.
The directive.
Yes.
Well, actually, it's a motion.
Boy, is Megan gonna have fun with this one.
yeah.
That's our secretary who takes notes.
She's had it pretty easy the last few meetings. That's
That's my motion.
That cover it?
I hope so.
I
Do I have
think
a
it
second?
does.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye. All right, sir, don't ever put us in this spot again.
You won't see me again for another 12 years, so.
Hold you to that, Dick.
All right, we're still on open time. Ralph? Don't tell me you got an island in a cul-de-sac you want.
Ralph Tillma, 4294 Oakmead Lane, White Bear Township. I have a few items about the development at White Bear Parkway and Otter Lake Road, right down here on the corner. My understanding is a building's going to be constructed, and each owner of a garage in this building is going to own the garage until all of them are sold. And then the developer is just going to leave and walk away from this?
No, well, let's put it this way. You're right from the standpoint that if he does carry through with the idea of developing it as a condominium, as a commercial condominium, eventually he will be free of responsibility. However, when you create a condominium, you also create an association who takes responsibility for the maintenance. So if your concern is there's going to be nothing there to deal with maintenance of the property, there will be an association that will take that responsibility under statute.
Okay, so all of the new owners over there are going to have to form a homeowners association under the state guidelines?
Yeah, actually, the process is this, it's under Chapter 515B, the Minnesota Common Interest Ownership Act. And in this case, the owner will have to prepare a declaration and create an association, which will have to conform with 515B, the requirements of 515B. That requires a declaration, which sets out easements, responsibilities, bylaws, and it also creates an association. Then the association will take, as they sell units off, there'll be a point at some point in time, the owner will relinquish control of the association to the actual end owner or the end user of the units.
Okay, so we're going to have a group of owners over there, similar to a condominium.
Yeah, like a townhome project, exactly.
So they're going to have to get together through a real estate agent, attorney, or someone like yourself to formulate a homeowners association.
Yeah, the way it will work is this, is if they decide to create a condominium, a commercial condominium, they'll have to file a set of floor plans with the Ramsey County. And the Ramsey County surveyor has to approve those. And when the county surveyor looks at those documents, they automatically require that the declaration be submitted to them. And if I remember correctly, is this property, I forget if this property is Torrens or abstract. I think it's Torrens.
Yes.
Since this property is Torrens, that means not only do they have to satisfy the requirements of the county surveyor, they also have to satisfy the requirements of the title examiner for Ramsey County District Court. And they will require that they create a declaration. That declaration, I've done this, so I know what the steps are. Both the county surveyor and the examiner of titles will review the declaration, make sure it conforms with the statute. At that point, then they can file the floor plans. But they have to file declaration, floor plans at the same time.
Okay, is a developer going to do that?
The developer has to, if he wants to.
He has to do it.
He has to. Yeah, because until such time as he files the floor plans, he can't sell individual units. They don't.
Okay, well, that's what I was concerned
Yeah.
about, is that there might be an oversight where the developer cannot be found anymore, and we don't have a condominium in place to pass on responsibility to the new owners.
No. If they want to create a new create separate tax parcels with each unit, they have to have the floor plans and the declaration filed. Otherwise, the county will not allow, the county won't create new tax parcels until such time as the floor plans and declaration are approved by the surveyor, and in this case, the examiner of titles, because the property is Torrens property, registered title.
Ralph, we just were informed of this, last exec meeting?
Yeah.
So it kind of came as a surprise to us too. We assumed he was renting them out also.
That's why he knows the statute, and if he knew that statute without that discussion, I'd be worried.
Yeah. And one other thing too, under 515B, the statute, the town can't forbid a condominium.
Well, I just,
I understand what you're saying. I appreciate exactly what you're saying.
yeah,
And,
because
yeah,
Ramsey County is then going to have to issue separate deeds and tax statements for each owner over there.
that's right. They'll create separate tax parcels.
And they're not going to be happy about doing that either. One other thing, they created a big pile of mud and earth and soil over there. How long is it going to take before that disappears? I mean, we turned something that was rather fun to look at into an eyesore, a big one right now.
Well, that's the nature of construction, Ralph,
It's not going to be pretty for a
but
while.
especially with the weather not cooperating right now.
But I'm sure Mike Johnson's made sure they have proper silt fencing up to protect.
Yeah, they do, but I presume this soil came from a retention pond, because I think the township could have insisted that they put in a retention pond because that property acted like a big sponge.
There are two retention
There are
ponds
two
going in there.
retention ponds.
Right, so that soil probably came from the retention pond,
Yeah.
some of it anyway. But hauling that out of there is not going to be an easy thing for the developer, because where's it going to go? It's not soil that's going to create a good base for another condominium. So,
Well, and that's their responsibility to dispose of it.
well,
they-
make sure that they take that responsibility.
That's why we have engineers on site on these projects.
And building inspectors.
And buildings.
And Bill, yeah.
I see what you're driving at it.
And Water Creek or watershed districts and.
Yeah, now we're making a big hard pan over there where we had a rather nice open green space. And
That's project, or in progress, I
yeah,
mean.
this was township property, right?
Yes, it
We
was.
sold this.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, it's your responsibility to follow through on it then.
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Understood.
Okay, thanks.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Ralph. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? All right. Item 11, I need a motion to receive agenda materials and supplements.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to adjourn at 8:14.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.